Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? See, I just threw my recording on for all the YouTube heads. What up, everybody? Welcome to yet again another weekly watch list. We're gonna have an interesting week this week. I'm just gonna try to blow through this just so we can, because there's a lot to go over and just to keep your attention here intact. So there's a lot to go through this week. Let me go ahead and just hit the start button on this. Start. Okay, start. Cool, cool. And let me just send the alert out that we are live. All right. So again, lots to go over this week as we look at ES futures. So we had a nice, interesting bounce out of some consolidation, and we formed kind of a inverse head and shoulders here on on ES. And right now, I pull up ES so that we can look at one thing, and that's the where we're at with the open right now. So we're currently on the upper range of last Friday's bar. And if you were trading, I'll say if you were trading with us, but pretty much anybody in the market would have nailed. As long as you stayed bullish on Friday, you would have nailed it, right? So crazy day on Friday. And right now we're opening up on this candlestick within the upper range of Friday's price action. So it's much easier for this to continue to move to the upside versus pulling back to the downside. However, with the massive range of this one candlestick here, I can see some potential for it to kind of fill the void here. You see there's a lot of empty space here in the volume profile. So maybe ES might want to chop around in this area and try to figure out if it wants to stay higher, continuing to go higher, or maybe pull back and find some support. So that's what I'll be watching for the market. Let's just start with SPX. And as you know, SPX and ES move pretty much exactly the same, minus I think it's like 100 points or 50 points or whatever it is. So again, big bullish move, strong move out of this consolidation here. We had like a nice gap up on Wednesday. Another gap with some indecision at a previous sell area on Thursday, but then Friday, bulls took it in full force. And like Jay said, like JCat said, it could be some window dressing that occurred to let some of the fund clients feel good about their investments, right? So that being said, I would probably move a little bit lightly. I wouldn't stay as bullish, especially with the news happening out of China and Saudi and Russia right now. So if you don't know, there's something going on in the energy industry where I think, and I'm not going to talk about what I think it is, right? I'm not going to talk about I'm not going to put my tinfoil hat on right now, but let's just say that energy got a nice little gap up overnight. Actually, what are the crude futures? I think it's CL. Oil futures, what's going on? CL smooth. All right. So we got a nice little gap up in oil futures, and this is live trading. I'm not going to speak on the news just because I don't know 100% what it is, but I did read some opinions on my way through the timeline, and which caused a nice little gap up here. So I expect for energy to be up as well by tomorrow. The only thing is, you see it kind of gapped up, made a new high, retested this previous area here of resistance, right? This kind of box over here, and then sellers are stepping in, right? Just like they did the last time it was here. So I don't know if this is going to continue to move down. I don't know if it's going to find support. It's kind of sitting right on top of a volume profile. If you see here, there's a nice little protrusion here at 79. So 79 could act as support for CL for crude oil futures. And if that's the case by tomorrow's open, then we might see some nice upside, maybe to have this test at 200-day moving average, depending on what's going on. So let's just get into the list. The first one that I have is XOM. And I'm just going to look at these two energy names, the ones that we play the most frequently, Oxy and XOM. So XOM ended the day on Friday with, it made a nice move from Monday into Friday with a nice bounce out of this 200-day test. It continued out of the bounce, and off of that bounce, it was a low of 191, and it reached all the way from the 200 all the way to the 100-day moving average, where it made a high of 110, right? So nice 10-point move out of this bounce. And now we're kind of slowing and consolidating in this area where we've previously consolidated. So you see I have some levels that I drew here back when it was consolidated here. We're kind of retesting some of these levels. It looks like we can find support on these two levels here at 108.64 and 109.02. Now, based on the move that CL futures have made, I think that it's possible that this is going to open up above this 50-day moving average, which is the red line. And so I'm looking for it to catch some support at this 110.89 level, which is going to coincide with the 50-day, it looks like. And is going to stay right on top of this volume shelf. So I wanted to catch support at this volume shelf and then maybe continue to the upside. So I'll be watching that. Again, I have like a little legend here. You see my blue flag on the ticker symbol here. The blue flag means that it can go in any direction. And we would want to have a plan for any direction, but I can't discuss where it's going to be now, based on the open of CL futures, right? We don't know where that's going to land XOM, but we can definitely predict that it's going to open up possibly above this 50. So I expect it to come and back test the 50. Actually, let's look at CL real quick. We are right at the March 7th previous resistance. So. Which puts us right here. So it'll kind of sit in this area at 113.74. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a box. I want to see what it does within the range of that green candlestick there, right? This candlestick here. This is going to be our new range for tomorrow morning. So if we fall below this, and I'm just looking at the volume profile on the right, if we fall below this 113, then we'll come and test the bottom of the range. And if we can stay above that 113, then we'll go and test the top of the range, which will give us 113.84. And then from there, there's a nice little gap to fill to the upside over here. So for right now, obviously we can't, obviously market's closed, but and I can't really call where it's going to go. But for right now, if we, depending on what it does with this range, will give us kind of the play, right? I'm gonna put these in dotted, just because I don't, if we do end up, some of these gap ups end up filling really hard to the downside. So I'm gonna keep these just dashed just in case they come back into play, and then that's just the close of previous day, or the high of previous day. So we'll keep that intact. So the main levels to watch on this are going to be 111.83, 112.38, 113.02, and then above 114, I think we can get to 115.31. So those are going to be your main levels to watch for XOM. I'm going to draw the top of this candle here for XOM, right? And we'll have a look at it tomorrow. This will be on top watch tomorrow. Another one that's going to be on top watch is Oxy. Let me get rid of this. Oxy, which usually pays very, very well. Oxy's broken up above the 50-day moving average. The last time that it was above it was on February 14th. And then the next day it closed underneath it and tested it a bunch, and now we're back above it, right? So Oxy has a very nice setup. What I love about it is it did the same thing as CL futures and XOM, where it kind of gave you a double bottom, or also you can also see kind of a inverse head and shoulders that formed over here. So Oxy tested some new lows, came back, found the higher low, and now it's consolidating at an area where after a big move like this, 3 days to bring it back up above the 50-day and then consolidating, that's a good sign, right? So the targets for this, and then again, this is going to open up at these highs here, right around these highs here. So the area of interest is going to be 63.58 and 62.99. Let's just call it 63. That 62.99 level has been a key level for us for pretty much all year, right? We have some support and resistance back here in December, and then at the beginning of the year, it kind of acted as a springboard. It bounced here, bounced again on this day. A lot of buyers stepped in here, right? And then sellers stepped in on the other side of it. Buyers brought it right back up. So this is going to be a key level, this 62.99. Above 63.58, I think is going to go and test the 200-day immediately, right? So your three levels will be 62.99, 63.58, 64.39. And then a breakdown below any of these levels, I would look for it to kind of settle itself above this area here, 62.77, right? Maybe 62.50, where this kind of volume profile is here. So that's what we're watching for that. Let me just go ahead and set a line there. If you guys don't use volume profile, you can see how useful it is, especially like during market hours on like 30-minute charts. you can see how quickly or slowly things move based on where volume was previously trading. So I like to keep it on or throw it on every once in a while just to take a look and see where things are. All right, so the next one is Baidu. Baidu has a notoriously ugly daily chart, so I like to look at the weekly chart. So Baidu kind of had this bull flag breakout continuation, bigger flag, broke through the flag 2 weeks ago, and then made a new high last week, but sellers stepped in with force and kind of brought it back down to the middle of the previous week's range, right? So and just as we expected, right? I mean, you see this box here where all these sellers were sitting at. We were expecting the same thing to occur. So, I mean, and we haven't really even gotten into the box, but you just know that there's a lot of sell pressure up here. And I just want to see I want to compare these two highs. The high was 160.88 and the high of last week was 160.53. So we didn't quite take out the high. We did take out the previous week's high, so that's nice. Let's go into the daily chart. Baidu is... And the reason why you have to look at it obviously on dailies, but it just gets so gappy and it moves. It just has such a crazy move that you have to sometimes zoom out to kind of see where the trend is. So what I like about Baidu now, and I'm just going to zoom it into this area here. What I like about Baidu now is that it's kind of sitting right on top of a volume shelf. A lot of buyers and sellers. And the thing with Baidu is like every other day is a doji, right? And so you can't really call it sometimes. You can't say that who's in control. So you have to look at the overall trend. We're still in the uptrend because we have lower lows down here. Here's a higher high. Here's a higher low over here. And we haven't quite made the higher high yet, right? But we did form a higher low so far, right? This area is the new low, this line here at 148.58. So if we can hold support there, as we have a few days in the past, then we can bounce and try to take out this high here, right? So again, this is another one that can go in either direction. The 50-day is right there, and sometimes the 50-day acts as a magnet, and so it can easily pull down to the 50-day and see what's up. Otherwise, if we break to the upside, and you can use these same levels, that's why I left them, right? They're pretty much the same range of this candlestick, this candlestick, this candlestick, this candlestick. Above 152.45, we get 155. Above that, we can get 160 pretty easily, especially with this massive gap in volume right here, right? And then below its current price, we have some previous support and resistance at this level at 147. Underneath that, we can come and test the 50-day at around 145. So that's what I'm looking at for Baidu. Next one is Pepsi, and a lot of this, if you guys are on this call with me, or if you kind of you look at the recap video throughout the week or on Monday morning or Sunday night or whatever the case is, you'll realize that I keep a lot of the same tickers on my watch list, and I've learned that I feel very comfortable with them. I know how they move. I have confidence when I trade them. I know what to look for in certain tickers, so you'll see that there's a lot of repeat names here. And you know what? I'm not going to change. Right. If you guys want to take a look at something else, you let me know. But otherwise, I have the same very few tickers on my watch list. And they're very seasonal. Like I'll keep these in play for a month until maybe something else shows up. Right. So Pepsi, let's look at the weekly. And I like to look at the weekly for perspective. We were looking for an upside move on Pepsi last week, and it gave us the upside move. It opened up above the previous level, right? The previous high. It came down, tested support, and then bounced completely, right? Now it looks really, really clean on the weekly. It got through the first target, didn't quite get to the next target, but but the thing is, these things don't really make too much sense sometimes on the weekly. Like you see, like it had a bunch of sell pressure on Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, it formed a doji above the highs of Monday and Tuesday. On Thursday, it formed kind of a doji above the high of Wednesday. And on Friday, it formed a doji above all price, right? So, I mean, it really tested your patience. And I think the call that I put out was on Monday, and it was for Friday. And so if you held it and you sold it at the right time, then you made some money on it. I think Pepsi has a nice parabolic move coming out of this, because look at all this consolidation here, nice rip up. Sellers came and brought it back down. It consolidated again. You see how buyers are active. Look at this. Look at look at how big this doji is on this, or how big this upper wick is on this, right? And then buyers are in force right now, so they're still fighting in this level. And you can see that all the sellers that exist here are the same sellers that believe that it should have been lower at this price here. So we're still within this range of this candlestick. But above that 182.77, I think we can get to 185 very quickly. Above 185, we got that 188.84 level still in play. So nothing much has changed. I mean, we got through the first target, and we're still working on the second target. Maybe with Pepsi, maybe you look for some 190 calls or something for a couple of months out. The next one is Costco. Let's look at the weekly. Again, Costco we had our level set based on last week's price action. And so there was a play in Costco, but Costco really chopped around all week. It formed the doji, and is it the 200-day? Let's see. Yeah, that is a 200-day. It formed the doji and ended right underneath the 200-day. So that 200 days is the tough one, right? I put us in calls on Monday morning, at the break of the high. Let me change this. Actually, let me just change this so it can change my crosshair to a dotted line, so it's a little bit easier to see the wicks. All right, so this wick of this candlestick kind of faked us out. I saw some support forming above that 200-day, but then it pulled back immediately and it kind of faked us out. Fell into previous support here, right on top of this volume profile, and then bounced out of that. So the trigger is going to be for this. The real play is going to be above 500, just like we discussed. I think not this past week, but the previous week's midweek call. So above 500, we can get into the range of this candlestick here and test 505. Above that, we can test 510. Right. And as you know, Costco, it really makes big moves. Look at this massive candlestick over here in January 6th. So with all this consolidation and sideways price action for the past couple of weeks, I think that once it can get free, it can form another one of these big ass candles. Right. This candle has a range of $22. Right. This candlestick here has a range of what was that, $15. Right. So we're looking for another big move out of this consolidation. And I think that $500 mark is going to be a big catalyst. And maybe even above this 505 might be a really big catalyst for Costco to make the move. And again, blue flag, so this can go in any direction, right? It can reject that 100-day, come back, fail through the 50-day, and then come back and test this previous level of resistance here, that support. Underneath that, we got that 487. Underneath that, we got a nice little gap to 481. So either way, right? So here's your levels right here for Costco. The next one is DKS. So DKS, the last time that we discussed it 2 weeks ago, we identified this falling wedge after a gap up. And I said, you know what, I think that falling wedges usually lead to breakouts, but I would love for it to fill this gap, right, from this gap up. And I'm very surprised that it actually did both, right? It broke out of that falling wedge a little bit here, and then it trapped a bunch of buyers, a bunch of bulls got trapped over here in this kind of breakout, and then it failed and it put in a nice downside move for 4 days, and it came and tested the 50-day, and it filled the gap. So we got that gap fill, we got the 50-day test, and now we got a nice big move to the upside on Friday. And we had previous support here acting as resistance for the past 4 or 5 days until Friday actually broke out and got into this big volume gap. So I'm looking for a continuation. I want to see it break above the 50% fib and the 61.8% fib. And what I did was I measured the move of this one candlestick, right? You see the 0 and the 100 here. So really, I want to get into the upper level of this one candlestick before we can try to continue to test some of these higher levels here. The reason why I have this in blue where it can go in any direction is because it can fall, right? It can hit that 50 and reject just like it did on this day, on March 23rd, and pull right back into this support level here. So it's fair game for DKS. But again, this is another one that has a lot of money for us when it forms these massive bars. So another top watch. Next one is Disney. I don't really trade Disney like that, but I do like the setup on it. So let's go into the weekly real quick. If you look at the weekly, we have kind of and Disney's been just getting demolished, right? Just like a lot of other companies, but Disney's just been like really weak, and then bad news, all kinds of stuff, right? So Disney has this potential inverse head and shoulders forming. Here's your left shoulder, here's your head, and here's your right shoulder. And it has it does make these nice moves to the upside, but then a bunch of sell pressure steps in, right? So what I'm looking for is, and we were above that 200-day for quite a couple of weeks, I would say 4 weeks, and then I wouldn't really count this week, right? So we have that inverse head and shoulders forming on the weekly, which is beautiful. And then on the daily, what I love about it is we've been forming higher lows ever since we kind of found our newest low in the end of December. We've been forming higher lows, right? They do have earnings out in about, 6 weeks or so. So there's a potential for us to catch a run up. Maybe not this week, starting this week, but maybe in a few weeks. And again, I have this one in blue. I have it mapped out for both upside and downside. So Disney closed at the $100 and what was it, $100 13 mark. Right underneath that 200-day, right underneath that 50-day. So I expect those levels to be very, very tough to break, especially that 200-day. So basically we can play the range of the previous day's candlestick, break above, and then I would think that even underneath that 200-day is a risky entry. I really need this to be above like 101, right? 101.20, 101.30 in order for it to really pick up steam and move to the upside. Now, again, we do have that 50-day there, so I don't know if it's going to be ready. I'm going to go ahead and set my alert for this level here at 101, let's call it 101.15. I think that's fine. Because I needed to have some strength above that 200-day and find some support at that level before it can continue to the upside. If we do break the upside, I'm targeting this 102.70, and then above that we have 103.73 and 105.80, right? And Disney makes some nice moves, as you can see, with these candlesticks, and that's all I'm looking for nowadays. Underneath that, we have some local support with the 100-day moving average sitting right here, plus previous support on Thursday. But then we do have a nice little gap to fill to the downside into Wednesday's price action. So either way, it can go up or down for Disney. And what I would love to see is some consolidation underneath that 200-day before it decides to go up or down, because it'll give us a nice move out of that consolidation. The next one that I have is Apple. So now we're getting into I'm bullish, right? I'm bullish for the week. The oil news might change things around, but for now, let's see. Based on the setups that we have as of last week, I'm bullish. But again, it depends on what, it's all macroeconomics at this point. I mean, if energy's up, then that means that we might have money flowing out of tech. And especially, this year, some of these companies are up really, really, really massively. I think Apple's up 28% for the year. Nvidia's up like 98% or 92% for the year. AMD's up like 60% for the year. So, I would expect for some of that stuff to kind of consolidate and then maybe sell off a little bit. And let money rotate into another sector, right? But tech has been absolutely on fire. If we do get a nice green open and you see the Qs and, NASDAQ, and you see ES setting up in a way that works for tech and for Apple specifically, then, just take it. Don't even have any fear. I was trading a little bit fearfully with Apple last week, but it paid out. So the weekly strong, again, we had this, what I liked about Apple for last week is we had this kind of bullish move with a consolidation forming a bull flag. And then we had this, a seller stepped in here for 4 weeks in a row, or rather 4 weeks each time that it came back to this level. And then we finally broke out of that consolidation, right? We finally broke through that resistance and tested previous levels of resistance. And last week, again, the first kind of level that we were looking for entry was this 161.14, and then the target was 165.30. We went right directly to the target and pretty much closed at it. And so now we have the previous highs of the previous weeks to kind of test. There's not a lot of volume. If you look at the volume profile, there's not much up in this space between now and that 172-ish. So, if bulls take control, or if bulls stay in control, then we can get to that 172 or the 170 pretty quickly. And then from there, take it to 172. Now, looking at it on a daily, I mean, it pulled back, and I actually want to measure this. This looks like it might be a 61% retracement. Let's see. Yeah, 61. So we had this nice big move to the upside. It found the high, it pulled back, it bounced on the 61.8% fib right here, and then it continued to make a move. If you are an OG Gold Rush member, then you remember this course that we did on the waves, right? The way that these things kind of move, where it does the first move, it pulls back, finds support, usually on a fib level, then continues to move and makes a new high. So very clean move on Apple daily. Let's see if we can turn that into something like this, right? Let's just see. Let's see. Who knows? But I like the continuation. And then again, what I love about Apple is it has this kind of inverse head and shoulders that formed. Here's your left shoulder. Here's your head down here. Here's your higher right shoulder above the 200-day, above that 50, right? It bounced off that 200-day a bunch. Actually formed kind of a inverse head and shoulders right on the 200-day. And is making just a nice move to the upside. So if there's a strength in this sector, I expect a continuation in Apple for sure, 100%. The next one that I have is Amazon. I'm loving Amazon right now. This is, I believe, the 200-day. If I'm not, yeah, that's the 200-day moving average right here in black. during the last week's call, we were looking for an upside move, as you can see by the arrow pointing straight up into that 200-day. And so we're still working on that move. There's a nice little volume gap sitting right here. We've closed above it on Friday. So, and I think these are anchored VWAPs. Let's pull back, because I was very interested in this. I was actually in the hotline by myself on Friday, like 2 in the morning when nobody was around, recording a video, and I scrapped it. But anyway, I have this double top on a weekly, right? So ultimate target is the top of this candlestick here at 188.65. We have this double top on a weekly, and then we kind of fell really, really hard from there, formed the lower high, pulled back really strongly, consolidated, bounced out of that, formed the lower high. And now we're starting to kind of go sideways again, right? Now, I'm not saying that we're going to reach this anytime soon. It'll probably take us a couple of years to get back to that level. I formed some anchored VWAPs from these two highs. Actually, I'm sitting on an open high, low, close. So let me adjust that. Where is it? Inputs. High. That's where we want. And let's do it here as well. So I'm just setting some yeah, I was gone. So I'm just setting some, these are going to be some future levels of interest here at 129 and 137.99. Above the 200-day moving average. So the first target right now for us is the 200-day moving average. We're forming higher highs and higher lows, right? We have our low here that we're basing it off of. Here's the first high. Here's a higher low. An additional higher low. Now we got to kind of break through that 200-day first before we can target this high, right? So very slight uptrend, especially if you count it from like over here, we're in a nice little uptrend. And then once we can start forming like weekly uptrends, then things get much stronger. But I'm loving Amazon. Let me zoom into this a little bit. Loving Amazon for a continuation of an upside move. Amazon was lagging compared to the rest of the market, right? You saw like Nvidia, AMD, you saw Apple, you saw Tesla putting in these massive green sticks on Friday, and Amazon was just going like pretty sideways for the day, right? Let's look at it on the 15-minute. So yeah, it was going sideways pretty much all day. I mean, it did break the, here's your resistance here. It broke out above the resistance and tested support a bunch, 5 or 6 times before it closed and made a high a day at the close pretty much, right? So we had the resistance at the beginning of the day, finally broke through it, came back, tested as support once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. And even on that last candlestick, it tested support. So I think that's really good, solid support at 102.75. And so I'm looking for a continuation. Let's go back to the daily. I'm looking for a continuation above the high of day. Will give us, we can test that level. Then we can test that 103.95. And then we can get into the range of this wick here, right? Let's target the range of this wick here. That's what we're looking for. And as you can see, the 200-day sitting kind of right on top of that, on the upper range of that wick. So that's the next level that I'm looking to test. And then if Amazon opens up above this area, I want to see it pull back to that 102.75 level and find support there. And as long as it can do that, then we can continue the upside move for Amazon. The next one that I have is Meta. Meta's been an absolute beautiful ticker to look at on all time frames. So Meta had a nice consolidation, pulled down, formed another box, fell hard out of that box for weeks on end, bounced, formed another box, and then made a nice move to the upside, formed a nice flag, and now we're breaking out of that flag, right? Now we're on the breakout. So my final target for Meta is at 224.30. I want to see it test the range of this candlestick here. We're currently within that range, so I'm actually going to get rid of some of these levels here. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of some of these levels here. And you see we closed right at this, and let's go to the daily so we can see where that's at real quick before I delete it. We closed right at the high of, or the close of this May 3rd candlestick. So crucial candle. As long as we can stay above this 209.36, we're gonna go ahead and test that 218.43. Obviously 209, you have the 210 and the 215 in between. Then every $5 increment would be a psychological level, but if we can maintain this 209.38, then obviously 210, 215, then we have that 218.43, got the 220 obviously, and the 224.30 are the next levels to beat. And Meta is well above that 200-day moving average, and we got the golden cross right here, the 50 crossing through the 200-day after that nice gap up, right? And we had this nice little gap up, pulled back, didn't fill the gap down, found support where there was previous volume, and buyer stepped in and said, all right, we like it here, let's continue to buy it up. So, and it's been in an uptrend ever since, right? It's been channeling to the upside, right? And so that's what we want to see. We want to see a continuation. And I mean, I'm just putting the channel there for reference so you can see its higher highs and higher lows, but I'm not sure what it's gonna do. And nice technical setup here, nice little cup and handle, breakout, continuation kind of flag here, breakout. So targeting 218.43, 224.30. We can probably get to that 224.30 in a week or two. The next, and again, this weekly, I mean, this is just absolutely beautiful, right? And on a larger time frame, you know, we can target that 236.86, and then we have this whole candlestick, this whole candle here to kind of test. You see a bunch of traffic over here, so these will kind of be the next levels, but this is going to get interesting once it gets into that 250 level. So the next one is Tesla. Tesla went absolutely insane for us on Friday. If you took my play, I think it ended up like 700%. I sold it at 150. I was very happy for that 150%. Very thankful for that. And if you jumped into Frank's, I think it was 205 calls. I think there was 205 and 210 calls. Frank's 205 call, he called it at 25 cents, and it went to $2.50, right? It went absolutely insane. So nice 1000% play by Frank for Tesla, and I think there's a nice continuation, especially after this kind of consolidation on the weekly, pullback, bounce, right? So let's look at it on the daily. Very, very clean move. Nice little, there's an inverse head and shoulders there. There's a cup and handle there. It really depends on what you see, right? What pattern shows up more easily for you. So we were looking at Tesla for a couple of weeks now, and we had this kind of wedge that formed, and it broke out of the wedge on Friday, right? Here's your wedge. And it broke out of the wedge on Friday. After a nice big day of indecision on Thursday, right? So let me just zoom in on this so you can see the candlesticks much more clearly, right? So man, I saw where it opened up, and I'm like, I think Tesla. I just want to see what time the play was put out, because I had a lot of confidence in it, and I'm happy that it panned out the way that it did. Let's see. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I'm really proud of that play. Tesla 200 call at 94 cents, 9:30 a.m. Market open, right? So I just saw where it was at. I saw that it had broken up above this falling resistance. Nice consolidation for the past 8 days. And it just looked really, really primed to rip, and it went right through the 200, straight past. It went straight to Jake's 206 and gave a little bit more. So I mean, I have Tesla on a green flag here, which says that I'm bullish on it. I would, however, like for it to pull back into some of its fib levels, you know, some of its key levels for the day. Maybe pull back into that 618 before it can continue to move to the upside. Tesla's one of those that just, when it wants to rip, it just rips incessantly and it goes crazy. So it might not do the pullback. It might not need the pullback, right? Especially after all this consolidation here, all the consolidation back here, it might be ready to make that move, right? So who knows? I'm going to leave this fib level here. I'm actually going to color it differently so that I don't get confused throughout the intraday. Let's just use orange, so that during the day we can kind of get some perspective. And I urge you to do the same thing. Draw fibs to measure some price throughout the day and see kind of where things can pull back to and where things can end up at. And I'm gonna put a final target on this, which will be the 1618 fib, which puts us up here at $214.40, which is where we previously ended. If you look over to the left, back in February, Valentine's Day-ish, right? Back over here. So it'll put us back around this level, and it'll put us right back into this 200-day moving average. So maybe 2 days we'll get that to that 214 and change. So that's what I'm looking for. I know this is very hard to see on your chart, so let me go ahead and adjust it. Maybe we could let's do prices. We're gonna have to do it in one color. All right, so let's just do it in purple. That way it's easier for you to see. And you have your final target for Tesla would be this 101.618 fib at 214.33, where we previously closed, where the 200-day will meet us, right? So that's the target for this week if we get the continuation. And if we get a pullback, then I want to see a pullback within maybe this 203.74 level or 202.50 level. I want to see some support, some buyers step in around this golden fib area here between these two fibs. So that's Tesla. The next one is, oh, interesting. Next one's Walmart. Before I get into Walmart, Dan Ives raises Apple price target from 205 from 190. I saw there was a bunch of news that came out on Apple this past week. Let's look at Apple real quick. I don't want to miss the news. Let's see. So AI trend, it looks like Apple's here to benefit, and I see Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Nvidia. Apple might hike its dividend, but investors want to short its puts. Investors may want to short its puts. So that's all bullish. Dividend hike is usually not good for shareholders. Sorry, what the hell am I talking about? Dividend hike is great for shareholders, but it's not good for for the company itself because they're putting out more money. And so maybe people are bearish on that. But when a company is showing strength, and especially if you know the history of like everything that's been going on with Apple, Apple's CEO took a salary hit instead of like cutting jobs, which they might still cut jobs. I think they might close down some of their arms. I think they moved some manufacturing over to India from China. So they made a lot of moves. And I think all the extra money, I think it just looks like there's some extra money that they're going to just give back to the shareholders, which is phenomenal. And I read something about Apple, something with Apple going on with a movie studio or something like a production studio news. So that's going to be big on their balance sheet. I don't know how much they produce for, they don't have like massive stars. They did have Denzel. Sudeikis, I would say he's a pretty decent star on a great show. So we'll see. But I think the major news is the dividend hike, and AI is the main driver for Apple, and potentially the AI is the play for Dan Ives to raise the price target $15. So let's see. Walmart, we had that continue. We had a nice setup into the last week. Nice bounce off the 200-day consolidation rip, right? And then into that 50-day. And then we had some levels here on the daily, but we ripped right through everything last week on Walmart. And Walmart, it was another confusing one to trade. If you kept the daily as a perspective, we had a nice move on Monday to break above the previous levels into the 100-day. And then it consolidated, formed an inside day on Tuesday, broke the range of Tuesday, but didn't get much past the range of Monday here on Wednesday, right? So let me see what the high was here. It was 144.98. The high of Wednesday was 144.96. So broke this day. Broke the range of this day, but didn't get above the range of the previous day. But then the next day, we kind of gapped up, price down, formed a doji. Next day, kind of gapped up, price down, price up, price back down, right? So it's in a strong trend to the upside, but there's a lot of sellers sitting in this level. So we need buyers to take control and kind of hold it where it's at before we break out above this 148 level. 150 is going to be a strong level to break because it's just $150, right? Psychological level. And then above that 150, we can start to target that, the 152, 154, 156, which is our 1618 Fibonacci level. And you see that Walmart has been there before, right? Like the previous target, 154.38 or so. What is this? 154.64 is another key area for this to break out. So I like it for a continuation. You see that it broke down below the zone here. We had support back here, support here, support here. It broke beneath that support, found a spring on the 200-day moving average, cut right through the 50, cut right through the 100 after a couple of days of indecision. And so let's see what it does, right? And again, this one, I'm actually going to change the color of this to blue, just because I see the sell pressure that's sitting up here at the previous level where we pulled back. And obviously where this massive red candlestick is. So this can easily fall back down to test the range of the bottom of this candlestick. You see there's a big empty area of volume here. So it can easily come back into this level if it falls below the close of Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a line there and put a line. Actually, let's get rid of all these other lines. Let's get rid of all these other lines. And let's mark up the high of day, the close of day, and we could just do the low. at that point. And I'll give you some upside targets. We got this candlestick. We have this candlestick right here, which is the same as the close of this, which is the same as the high of this. Above that, we have this high here. Final target would be 156. 156. So let's see. Let's see. I see some strength in this sector overall. And so if this sector continues to be strong, then I think Apple will continue to Walmart will continue to be strong. Next one is Duolingo. Duolingo weekly gave us a nice, Duolingo's been ripping, absolutely ripping, right? So it gave us a nice move out of this pullback. Strong move. I think this was an earnings move too. Let's see. Yeah. This green candlestick was based off of earnings. Nice big move. It made a new high, but there was some indecision on this week. And then the next week, it kind of tested the upper range of this candlestick and it's just been continuing. So this is like a failed 3-bar play that, failed 3-bar play 78% of the time, continue to make the move. And so this is a continuation move right here. So very nice move on Duolingo's behalf. Now, if you look at the daily, this daily is so clean. Now, the thing with Duolingo that's very tough is that I think they only have monthly contracts. Let me just double check if it's Duolingo indeed. Let's see. DUOL has only monthly contracts. So April 21st, May 19th, June 16th, August 18th, November, right? And then other ones will form in between now and then. But so we have the play by default will always have time unless you're like getting right into an OPEX. And what I love about this play is, we were looking at it last week on this is last Friday's candlestick, and we had that inside day on Friday, and then the range kind of chopped around within that box for pretty much all week until this past Friday. It found a nice level of support here and just absolutely gapped up and broke out. So I'm looking for a continuation to the upside. Hold above the close, break above the high. And it's not like Duolingo's never been here before. So we have some levels that we can reference back here. And I'll just set these 2 levels here. I don't want to go too crazy, right? But I think there's a continuation for Duolingo, especially after this nice 4-day consolidation, or rather 6-day consolidation, right? So I like it. I'm just looking at the contracts. The 150 calls for April 21st are between 330 on the bid side and 380 on the ask side. And another thing is these don't really get a lot of volume or OI, but you'll see those start to kind of pick up as time, as the strike expiration gets closer, right? So pay attention to the OI. I'm gonna actually put this one on the chart so that we don't have to go back and reference it all the time. This is the 421. I'm looking at the 150s just because, again, psychological number. And it's right there. We can get in the money very quickly. 150 calls have a bid ask of 3.3 and 3.8. 3.3 to 3.8. And the volume is currently, it's if you know me, you know that I don't like to trade volume that looks like this. 45, and the OI is 646. So, I tend to, I look for like above 1,000 for both, right? Especially on volume. But and that's what makes it so tricky. And that's why you don't see me really call it out too much. But I do keep it on watch. I love how it moves. So maybe we take a leap of faith and we kind of ride the trend, right? So let's see what happens. The 155s, which can fall into the money by 421, I have a bid ask of $2. Let's see, 155 call has a bid ask of between 2 and 235. And it has a volume of, the reason why I'm putting volume here is so that you can be aware, right? And kind of know how things are progressing as time goes on with volume and open interest, 174. So, if you do want to trade it, take a look at these. Watch how the volume rises or falls. Watch how the open interest rises or falls. Maybe set a volume alert if you see crazy volume coming into one of these contracts and you know that there's a move there. They do have earnings out in a couple of weeks. Actually, they're about 8 weeks out or so, 7 weeks out. So, there's time for a potential earnings run up, but that's Duolingo. Next one is UPS. You see that UPS has been forming this wedge. I drew this wedge on a weekly, and it's very, very ugly, but that's how I drew it. I pulled this thing down and I kind of drew it like that. We had the inside week. Last week was an inside week, or sorry, 2 weeks ago was an inside week from the previous week, the range of the previous week. And you see, if you look across, you see that there's just a bunch of volume. Where is it? Is it this candle? Yeah, in this candlestick. All this volume within this range right here. So we're starting to test the upper levels of that range. Let's go into the daily. We're starting to test the upper levels of that range, and too strong. We found a bunch of support on that 50-day. You know, a bunch of days in a row, it came back and continued to test it. We had this doji right at the end of the this wedge, which formed on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we broke out above the wedge, made a new high of day, a high of week, broke the previous Friday's high or Thursday's high, whatever day that is, Thursday, and then kind of formed the doji after that. The next day, we formed a brand new high, broke above previous high of the previous week, which I think it was here. This was a high of the previous week, and then came into the range of this candlestick, which I wanted, right? We gapped up, formed a red candle, tested the whole range of this one wick, and then continued to move. So that's a very, very strong move. To open up here, come all the way down to pretty much the low of the day, almost the low of the day of the previous day, and then close way up here, and then continue to move to the upside and break above all these pivots. Very, very strong move for UPS. So I'm looking for a continuation. I think that we might get an earnings run up here. Is this the first earnings? Yeah, this is the first. Oh no, this is the second earnings after the holiday season. So you know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to play it right now. But I do like that it is breaking out of that range. We have this big volume shelf right here to kind of look into, right? The 195.66 level. Above that, we have the high of this candlestick here, which is 197.68. There's a nice little gap to fill into the next candlestick, and then we can test the top of that once we get there. So, and you can see how well volume lines up, right? And that's the 200 level. So above 195.66, we're going straight to that 200. So don't be surprised if I'm looking for a 200 call for possibly, maybe not this Friday, maybe next Friday for UPS. The next one is Microsoft. Let's look at the weekly. Microsoft had a very, very nice setup. It's a 3-bar play on the weekly. Out of, you know, there's a bunch of little setups that formed here, but the one that had my attention was this 3-bar play, massive move, breaking above all previous resistance. And then a resting bar where price retraced a little bit, but not much. It didn't fall below 50% of this candlestick, and it closed up higher than it opened. And then the following week, which was last week, sellers brought it back down, but buyers stepped in and tested this previous resistance as support again for a second week in a row, and then brought it above the high of both weeks. So nice 3-bar play in action, right? In motion. It's not obviously we know the full range of 3-bar play will be the 3rd bar would form the size of this 1 bar. It's not going to happen on a weekly. It's very rare that you see something like that happen on a weekly, but it will happen, like obviously on the smaller time frames, the 1 minute, 5 minute, 10, 15, 20, 30, even the hour, especially on the hour, and especially on the 4 hour. 4 hour, if you know the 3-bar play and you know what to look for the 4 hour, the 4 hour will give you amazing swing trades, right? So anyway, I think this is going to have another green week and at least come and test the high of this candlestick here at 294.18. These are levels that I've had marked. You know, the entry was the high of the previous week. The first target was the high of last week, right? So let's look at the daily. So we got our, and then pulled back on Monday. It formed a red candle on Monday, found some nice support on Tuesday, and then kind of made a nice little gappy move to the upside. The final target for this is 294.18, which we can get in a day or two. Or, you know, obviously give yourself the whole week. And if you like it, maybe we can get some 300 calls for a couple of weeks out. But Microsoft is on a mission right now. It's been forming high highs. It's kind of going parabolic. We kind of had this cup here with a handle and starting to break out. We also have a bull flag with here's a flagpole, here's a flag, here's a breakout. So depending on how you see it, it's all shaping out to be very bullish for now, right? So we'll see what happens. Let's see. And then again, they're going to be a catalyst the AI news is catalytic for Microsoft, especially with, I think their software is called Copilot. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I like it to the upside, and if we have downside, then you want to test the range of the same candle. I think it has some strong support at this level here at 281.66 or so. But right now I don't see any downside for it. Next one is AMD. I'm not in love with AMD on a daily quite yet. We do have this massive move up, and then some price discovery in this area. We caught the put play on this day. We swung into the next day, and it gave us a nice little move. I think I sold that for over 100%. We got a nice little doji on the next day, gap up, a little bit more fighting going on, and then gap down, and a nice bullish day on Friday. I think AMD was really tough to trade this week, but the weekly chart on it looks very, very nice. I love how bullish this chart looks. And again, you got to kind of zoom out for perspective. You got the double bottom with the higher low, and then you got a new higher low here, your first higher high here, second higher high here, and then we have a nice igniting bar breaking above all previous resistance, with the next candlestick kind of finding price, discovering price up and down, but not pulling back into 50% of this candle. Another candlestick kind of discovering price. It made a new low, I believe. Let me just see. I think it made a lower low between this candle and this candle. Let's see, 78.52 and 92.90 and 92.87. So it did break down 3 cents below the previous candlestick, but then buyer stepped in and brought it right back up, formed a nice little doji, put it up higher than the close of this bar here. So we're still in this resting bar phase. So what happens with a 3-bar play? Sometimes it turns into a 4-bar play. So with some strength in tech, there's a continuation move to the upside, and you have all your levels marked here. The first level would be that 98.63, break and hold, get above this $100 mark, right? $100 psychological level, break and hold, and you don't got to take any of these until maybe it gets above 100, right? The least risky play would be breaking above the high of this candlestick, which is $102.43, and the final target for this is going to be 110. And if you look here, you see that AMD is on a weekly kind of megaphone pattern. Ever since it found this consolidation here, it found some new highs, new lows, came back and tested some of these lows, and now we have that 110, which is right here at this pivot. Above that pivot, we have this pivot at 125. And then above that, we have the top of this megaphone pattern, which will put us back at the previous resistance here at 157. But I don't see that happening for a very long time, right? This is a weekly chart. So just to keep things into perspective. So I'll be looking at, I'm actually going to set my alert for the high of the day, or the high of the week rather. Let's do the high of this week. Let's do the high of this week. That's fine. $98. I want to set my alert for 98 so that we break above that 98. That didn't do that right. Let me just zoom that in a little bit. I wanted to go above the fill the gap, fill the upper wick of the weekly. Can I just move it? Yeah. Okay. Good. I want to fill that wick to the upside, and then from there try to test this level here at 102.66, and then from there we can get ultimately get 110. But yeah, I'm loving AMD. Next one I have is Google. I have become a very, very big fan of Google lately. I think this is the second week in a row that we've been trading Google. Or I say I mean, I've been calling out Google plays. Yeah. I mean, people in here have been trading Google forever. I think, what the hell am I talking about? But we had this, what drew my attention to Google was we pulled up to the 200-day moving average, and it does say weekly here, but my SMAs are all daily SMAs. Yeah, Google's been paying forever, but like now it's like, all right, it's ready to pay for real. And the reason why I say for real is because we had this nice consolidation. You could have caught any of these upside or downside moves on Google. We do have this kind of triple bottom, right? We had this support test here, came back, tested it again on the weekly, came back, tested it again on the weekly, and we consolidated all these 4 weeks, broke out of that consolidation, and now we're trying to test some of these previous levels here. So all we're doing is breaking out of this one range and going into the next range. The next range that we have for Google is, I would call it this here, right? They need a new partnership and that layoff news to get the next leg up. Yeah, Google, I think there's some catalyst in the works. I think that an important catalyst for Google is going to be how is it Baidu? Is it Baidu? I think it's Baidu. It might be Baidu that has an AI play that actually ended up being very underwhelming, which might have been a catalyst for Google to make this upside move here. So they need to I know Microsoft has some licensing. I know that they also have some licensing issues. Like I know Microsoft said that they don't want their information and their data to be available to GPT-4 overall. They want to keep it siloed. So like GPT can't reference Microsoft data, which is major and Microsoft is really smart for making that, for asking for that. Because imagine Microsoft Copilot. Everybody in a corporate environment uses Microsoft. The big plays are Microsoft, obviously Microsoft Office, and then you have Google Workspace or whatever they call themselves. And Microsoft has had a chokehold on that for years and decades, really. So I think that the expectation for AI is much stronger than what the actual AI is capable of for now. But we have to remember, the more data that goes into it, the more parabolic it gets. And it's going to get really, it is kind of scary now. I think it's going to get really, really freaky, especially as more bots surface on Twitter. Elon's not stopping that. I think the play with the Twitter subscription is smart because at least that way. And again, everyone has their opinions. I think that it's a necessary play because I don't think that bots are going to pay $8 a month, or if you're a company, $1,000. Well, companies are different, but bots are not going to pay $8 a month to have a blue verified check. But let's get rid of all verification. If you look through a profile, you see an avatar, you see a bio, you see a bunch of tweets, retweets, interactions with other users, you see all kinds of activity. If you go to the media tab, you might see photos of the person, right? AI, and they've had issues creating hands, but AI photos look absolutely unreal. Like you see them and they're just like, I can't tell that this is AI. The photos too perfect, so that kind of gives it away a little bit. But so the verification play is like, am I interacting with an AI right now, or am I interacting with a human? And that's all that is, I think. And that might be my own justification for it, based on the world that we're living in now, right? Elon's justification is obviously he wants to get paid, but I think that it's going to be really, really interesting to see how AI progresses within the next couple of years. We were on GPT-3 for a while, and that thing was absolutely mind-blowing, and GPT-4 blows it out of the water. And I think GPT-4 has access to the internet, so I think that it's going to be massive for Google, and they have a bunch of different partnerships out. Their APIs are publicly available, so people are developing on it. It's just really interesting stuff, and I think that Google's poised to learn more and earn more, right? Elon's mad because he tried. Yeah, Elon, and let's not forget, he has like an autopilot, like a bot. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called autopilot, but it's a bot, not like the Tesla car autopilot, but it's an actual bot, like a robot that they're going to use. I'm not sure if it's going to be for security purposes. I'm not sure if it's going to be, like how they use them in iRobot to help out at home. Like it's just, things are going to progress really, really quickly now. But remember, there's a robot, and it's like he's like, black upper body and then white from the torso down, and it looks really cool. I think it's really scary. Once you combine AI with Boston Dynamics, then you got like that Black Mirror Robo Dog, which is real, by the way. We have him in New York City. It's fucking crazy. So I think there's a play for him still there. He failed because he wasn't able to purchase it and then just form those partnerships, but he'll still benefit off of it. All he has to do is just license some of their shit and let the bot move, right? And then you got that and Neuralink. It's just a lot. Yeah, and Elon, I feel like he needs to stick to what works. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I think Tesla's a phenomenal company. I'm always going to agree with what their overall mission is. I think that SpaceX is extremely scary, and there's a lot that we can do here on Earth to kind of conserve Earth. Yeah. She said, let me stop distracting you. You're taking me on a rabbit hole right now. All right, so Google's great. look at the weekly. I mean, we had this nice little gap up move above that 200-day, nice green candlestick. Even last week, we came back and back tested that 200-day moving average. Let's go to the daily. Let's go to the daily. So we had the nice cup and handle that formed. The handle formed right above that 200-day moving average, and then gave us a nice green candlestick on Friday. That was another play that we kind of ate off on Friday. We have some upside levels here. I'm going to leave my levels intact, you know, take a screenshot of it or whatever the case is. I used to post these in a watch list channel. I think I might have to get back to doing that. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, and then you look at it, there's this falling resistance line that Google broke down here, right? There's your falling resistance line. And Google, there's some antitrust dismissal news that's coming out of Europe, I believe that's right. And so once they dismiss that, once they get out of that, or whether it's dismissed or whether it's settled or whatever the case is, once that's done, Google can continue. Say Google can continue 5 times fast, and it's not going to happen. We got a nice little bull flag breakout happening here. So some of these upside levels here. And then the final target for this is going to be that $108.18. And then I have this box drawn out here, which is where the previous volume is, all this volume here that we got to test. So that'll be kind of the next level, the next box that Google trades in. And Google's cheap and it moves fast, and it's just been wonderful, right? Next one is Nvidia. I don't think there's been a week this year that we haven't discussed Nvidia. Nvidia has been falling, kind of bounced, found a new high, formed the inverse head and shoulders, gappy move, found a bunch of resistance at previous resistance, opened up, broke through support, didn't make a high week, formed a failed 3-bar play here, came back and retested that resistance at support once more, and then there's your 3-bar play, right? There's your move. So it's been making this continuation move. Actually, I can do this on a monthly? Yeah, monthly is going to just be straight line up, and quarterly will be a mess. So nice weekly moves. We've been making higher highs for the past, pretty much all year, but especially these past couple of weeks out of this consolidation for these 2 weeks. New highs and, higher highs and higher lows. Let's go to daily. Nice consolidation move up to the upside. Fell hard on this level, gapped up, found some support in it twice, and then continued. And now we're making new highs. So there is, I believe, a supply zone that's here. Yeah, here's your supply zone. It exists on a weekly supply where price kind of chopped around the bunch and then fell pretty hard, right? There's your consolidation and nice fall out of there. So testing supply, which means that Google might, or Nvidia might chop around in this area a little bit. I want to pull it back so I can see where the volume is at. Yeah, it might chop around right where this node is at, but then above that 282 level, I think we can magnetize quickly to that 285, 290, 300. So I'm just going to keep these levels intact, break above high of day. Let's see if we can get to 282.48. Above that, we can try to test that 289.46. If it pulls back, I mean, there's plenty of volume in this level. So if it pulls back, let's look for support on Friday's open, and below Friday's open. If for whatever reason it breaks down, we can get to that break below Friday's open. We can get down into the 267 area where we had 4 days or so of support. So let's see what happens with Nvidia. Next one is, and that's it. I think that was my last one. Macy's is setting up. Let's see. Yeah, that was the last one. Macy's is setting up for a nice play. I've been looking at it for it to consolidate on this level. It formed an inside bar on Friday, so it might break to the upside or downside based on the price contraction here, right? So it might break down to the downside and continue this kind of, here's your bear flag, breakdown, bear flag, maybe breakdown, or maybe it's here's your shoulder, here's the head, and then it wants to pop to then maybe form a new shoulder somewhere over here. So I'm gonna set an alert for Macy's for both. I just don't think it's ready yet, so I'm not gonna add it to the official watch list. But do you guys have anything you want to look at? Macy's ran good off that Kohl's news in the PCE. Yeah, AI. C3 AI. This ticker has absolutely jaded me because I played it. I forgot when. It was a long time ago. Back when it was like $80 or so. Like back here. Yeah. Back here is when I was trading it. Back in March of 2021. So just about 2 years ago was the last time I looked at this ticker. But this looks great. And obviously AI sector is very hot right now. It's the talk of the town. This is an absolute beauty of a move. And this is a logarithmic scale, so it looks a little bit, it doesn't show how strong the move was, right? But from a low of $10, SPAC pricing, right? SPAC pricing, nice gappy move up into 31, so a 200% move. And then it's been flagging until it finally broke out of the flag, looks like this past week. I don't want to draw it there. I want to draw it like right here, right there, right? It kind of found a bunch of resistance at this level. It found a bunch of support at this level. So this was nice to scalp. If you were scalping or day trading, this is nice for day trades. And if you could time the swings, right, then very nice for swings. Good consolidation, nice move up. Here's your cup, there's your handle, and there's your breakout. If you want some upside targets, I mean, the most I can do for you is, I'll give you the fib, right? That's the most I can do for you. I don't know how this is going to react to previous levels because we're not trading off of previous news. So it's just tough. It's just tough, right? But we could do Fibonacci trading. That'll give us an ultimate target of 43.55. And if we use Friday's price action, that'll give us a nice local target for this week of 37.50. If we get a continuation, right? 37.50, and then use any of these levels as support. Let me just zoom this in for you, so you can, if you want to take a screenshot, again, the golden zone is the 61.8 and 50% Fibonacci levels. Right here. So again, ultimate target is 1618. Let me just get rid of the rest of these so that you have the ultimate target in mind. Right? 1618. I left I forgot I think I left the 1 or the 0 or so. Oh, I left the 0, which is, it's useless to be honest. Because we're not going back down there anytime soon. I'll leave the 1 and the 1618. So we pull back to this level. It wouldn't be unreasonable to pull back to 31, which would put us not only at the retest of this previous resistance, but also the 50% to 61.8% golden retracement zone right here. And then from there, if we do that, it's healthy. Let's not get scared. It's healthy. Pull back to this level can bring us easily into this level. Pull back into this previous resistance can bring us back into some future levels. There's a little bit of Elliott wave at play here, but yeah, there's a nice potential move to the upside if this can hold. Definitely hold this $30 or $31 level, and then definitely hold where it's at now. It would be a very, very nice upside move. And especially with all the AI news as a catalyst. Let's look at LRCX. LRCX, oh my. All right, so LRCX is still stuck within a range from the past couple of weeks. Now, we had this range expansion going on. Let me get rid of some of these levels. I like this level, so I want to keep it. What's this? I'm just going to do it manually because I want to keep that level. Get rid of all the rest of these. And you see that last week it came and tested all these levels. It ripped all the way down into this previous support over here, and then ripped all the way up and found the same high as last week, 2 weeks ago, right? The high this week was 532.56, and we have 533.09. So we broke it just slightly, right? But we're still within the same range, this same range here. Right, look at this candlestick. We're just been trading within the range of this candlestick for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So now we're at a point where we can potentially break above last week's, break and close above last week's high, get into the high of that previous week at 536.58, and then test that 548.85, 550-ish, right? The setup here was an inverse head and shoulders on the weekly. And right now, I mean, you can even do one of these. Let me get the, where is it? Just get the highlighter, take the magnet off, and we can even just do one of these, right? We got that cup, and we got the handle form right there. So there's a potential nice big move forming for LRCX. And when I say big move, I mean it can potentially target the high here of 735. And that's over time, obviously. But you see this nice flat base for all this period of time, pretty much since March of 2022. So one whole year of just pretty much a nice consolidation, a nice test of some lower levels, nice little spring. It's going to be a big breakout coming out of this. Let's go into the daily. The daily setup is beautiful. That's why when I saw it, I was like, oh man. So thank you, DYT, for bringing this up. And LRCX is another one that always stays on the chart. They do have earnings coming up on the 19th of this month, which is a Wednesday. Nice little midweek earnings. So that gives us 2 weeks or 3 weeks actually. If you want to take the play, you could take the 421s. Let me open up the chains real quick. LRCX. So did we break out the high of the previous day? Let's see. 532.76 and we got 533.09. So we did take out the high, but we closed within the range of the previous week. So I think that we still, I would still consider that to be an inside bar. Clean break above this level here at 533.11, which is a previous high back here, can give us this high, and that can be done in, these two can be taken out within seconds of each other in one candlestick. And the real target for this is going to be that 548.85, which will bring us back to the previous high here. And then we can really start to put that inverse head and shoulders to work, right? Put that cup and handle to work. So I'm going to measure it. See if I can do one of these measure moves. So, I mean, this is kind of it's tough. It's tough. Let me do it with the ruler. All right, so that's the highest that we've been inside within the this pattern here. Ruler. It's tough to measure this move. Let's see. All right, let's just do it with the line. I don't love doing it with line because it's logarithmic and it kind of messes things up a little bit, but I'm gonna measure that move, and then I'm gonna use that to measure the breakout. Puts us here at around 587. So let's call it 585. 585 will be the target for this. If you want to take a 2-week play or a 3-week play, the 421, 585 calls are going for bid $4.25, ask $5. These are not going to have any volume in it because it's so far out. LRCX is so expensive to play, and people usually trade weeklies on it. But a 585 for 3 weeks out is not unreasonable, right? For it to make a quick $50 move, it's not unreasonable. It's a 10% move over the course of 3 weeks. It's actually very reasonable. So let's target that, right? Let's just put it. And if you take the trade, cool. If not, cool, right? But we can talk about it in the future once we get closer to that date. And I'll keep it on the chart so we can talk about it in the next couple of weeks. I think that this setup is prime for that breakout. 585. The bid is 425 and the ask is $5. You got a nice little bid ask spread right there. What's going on here? 425 and $5. And no volume or open interest on it yet. Literally 2 people traded the contract on Friday. You know what? The volume of 2. Vol of 2. OI of what is this? 104. So if tomorrow you see that becomes 106, you know that they're still holding it. The next day it becomes 108, you know that a couple extra people bought it, right? So I like the 585s. There's no measured move on this yet. You could probably play the 600s. The 600s are between 265, and then we'll do Crocs and Lulu after. LRCX 421. And there'll be weeklies. Once I see the move, I'm going to set my alert and we'll find some weeklies for sure. But let's look at the 600 call. And this is for the run up. This isn't to suffer with IV crush by swinging through earnings, right? 265 and 305. So a pretty decent spread actually for something that's so far out in terms of time and price. With a volume of 57 contracts traded on Friday. An OI of 200. So keep those numbers in mind. I'll leave them on the chart. Ultimate target will be 580, 585 if we get the breakout. 585 right there. And then obviously the 585 calls will probably fall in the money. In that time, the 600 calls may or may not, but you'll benefit from a move all the way up here, right? So we'll continue to talk about LRCX. I like that breakout. I want to see it above the this level here. I'm actually gonna set this level. It'll take that first level out at the open, I'm sure. It'll take it out and then reverse, maybe, who knows? But I'll set it to the top of this candlestick, see what it does, and then we'll take it from there. Crocs. Crocs is one of those tickers that for some reason always gaps up and always beats earnings. Like always. I'm just gonna zoom out. Yeah, they had one bad earnings. April of 2020. I mean, I think, you know, that's fair, right? That's fair to give them one bad earnings, but they've just been green, beat on everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So looking at this on a daily with this kind of scale down like this, it has been trading within this range. You see that there's a bunch of sellers that exist at this upper level. Even when it gapped up above earnings and it formed a doji the following day, sellers brought it right back down. And then a bunch of indecision came right back down. So this is another key level right here. Just it really needs to take out the high of day. And you could trade the range of the day. Let me zoom this in so we can see it a little bit more clearly. You could trade the range of the day. And that's the range of the day is between $130.80 and $125.85. So a nice $5 range. Below the break of the low of day, which it looks like it wants to do based off this hammer, we can test. Looking at this, it's just the low of. I put it here, but it's just the low of the day here, and it's the 50-day. So that's probably more likely than anything else. Really, depending on how many sellers are sitting up here. Take it below the range here, break down to this level. First target, next target will be the range of the previous day at 117. Third target would be this one here. Fourth target will be the 100-day. If we break to the upside, which looks very unlikely, but I mean, who knows? Who knows? Right? Maybe energy, maybe tech goes down and energy and Crocs goes up. We got some upside targets. I'll put one in between these two. At 140 would probably be a nice key level. So break above 130 or 131, we could test at 136. Above that, we could test at 140. Above that, 144. And then below, and let's look at this with, and I'll go back to LRCX too. I just want to look at this with a different set of indicators, momentum indicators. So the MACD is blowing to the upside, RSI stable, TTM is now shooting up to the upside, small candlestick. So let's see what it does tomorrow. LRCX is bullish on the MACD, stable stable RSI, and so far a bullish TTM. So again, looks like a continuation to the upside. Let's look at Lulu. Lulu looked like it was, oh yeah, that's right. So Lulu had this channel that it broke out of a couple of weeks ago. Made nice moves here. Inside day, broke out, continuation. Tough to trade because it goes up and down, but it does form higher highs and higher lows. Into that earnings where it gapped up and formed a nice red day on this day. Found a new low and then came and tested the high of the previous day. So let me, or the middle range of the previous day. So I'm going to draw a fib from the top of this day to the bottom of this day. Where am I? Oh yeah, that's right. I gotta fill these in. Let's get rid of this 1618. Let's fill these in so we can see. I'm actually going to just do the 50 and the 618. So it came and tested the 50% range of this downside move from all the way up here to all the way down here. It's at about 50% of that. So it can easily go to the upside, easily come back to the downside. And again, that's just a quick way to show how you can use fibs to measure where things are. So above break of day high, above that 618 fib, we can target the high of this day. Then the next target will be the high of this day. And then below this 50% fib, we can target the open, and then we can target the low, right? Keep it simple. Nice and spaced out. Lulu, I think, might get some earnings drift. What that means is it gapped up on earnings. As long as it holds its support, it'll continue to move up. Look at this Lulu chart with the nice red candlestick here, holding the gap. Red candlestick here, holding the gap. Green candlestick inside bar, right? Inside bar, which is very nice. gives you clear targets to the upside and downside. And then let's look at Meta real quick, because Meta did the same thing. It gapped up, bunch of sellers came down, didn't fill the gap, and now it's kind of, I mean, this is a bad example of earnings drift, but it kind of is moving in the direction that it moved in the gap, right? So that's the same thing that can possibly happen with Lulu, where it can potentially continue to move in the direction of the gap, based off of a reaction to earnings. So that is it, guys. Thank you for taking your time to be with me tonight. We did an hour and 20 minutes, a little bit longer than I like to go, but all worth it in my opinion. So thank you again. This video will be posted tonight, probably by 1 o'clock or so. So I hope that you all see something that you like in this setup, and I hope that you feel ready for tomorrow, and we'll revisit some of these levels in the morning. All right. Thanks again, guys. And we'll see you in the morning. Have a good weekend. Peace.
Cheers.
Bye.